Let's finish rigging the left fingers. Our next step is going to be to work on linking. So starting with each root control, let's go ahead and select them and link them to our hand bone. Okay, so bringing our attention to the thumb, being that this setup here, this root is not double jointed, we can select the B control and link that right to the A control. Now being that the N control is double jointed, we need to go ahead and take that control and link it to the bone above it. Okay, so let's go ahead and take care of the index finger. Again, the middle control goes to the bone above it. The end control, we do the same. If it's not done, as we start to rotate our controls, once we set up the double joints to keep that volume, as we go ahead and start to rotate our controls, our rotations aren't going to look right at all. So we'll go ahead and take care of the pinky. And again, being that this root for the pinky is not double jointed, we simply link B to A. Okay, so once that's done now, we're ready to set up our constraints. So I'll go ahead and select the thumb's root, orientation constraint to its control. Go to the next bone, orientation constraint to its control. For this double joint, we just need to worry about these smaller bones and link to its corresponding control. So we'll take care of the index, bone first, orientation constraint, then the control. And then afterwards, we're definitely going to want to make sure that all of these are frozen and cleaned up. All of our controls. Okay. So again, once that's done, we'll just go in, select each of our root controls, control page down. It's not going to grab everything, but it'll still kind of speed things up. Freeze transformations, and then we'll grab the middle and end controls, the 5 that remain. Okay, so our next step here is going to be to make sure that we lock any controllers that we will not animate on. When it comes to the pinky and index fingers, all we need to worry about here is the y-axis. Okay, so we can lock the X and Z. When it comes to the roots, we're going to leave all of the rotations unlocked so that they will function right. Now the only root we're not going to do that to is the pinky's root. The X twisting is not going to be natural for this root, so we'll just go ahead and lock that and keep the Y and Z. But when we come to the next control, again, we want a full rotation for that. So let's go ahead and get started with the thumb. That control selected, we'll head over to the curve editor. We'll lock the position tracks. And we don't want to lock any of the frozen tracks at all because nothing will be locked. Again, Max is not looking at this anymore, but looking at the new rotation list. And in this case, being that that's the root, we'll leave all rotation and just go ahead and grab the scale and lock. Going to the next control, let's make sure we're in gimbal for this so we can see exactly what axis we need to worry about. And it's just the z-axis in this case. So what that means is that when we lock our position tracks, we're also going to lock the X and Y for rotation and lock the scale. So even if we try to move in other axes, we're just rotating in the Z. All right, so we can take care of this one. So last control, again, all position tracks. For rotation, we lock the X and Y, and we'll lock the scale. That brings us to the index, and here for the root, it's just the scale and position tracks that we'll need to lock. Here we just need to worry about the Y. So again, we'll skip over the Y, grab the X and Z, grab scale, and lock. Okay, great. So we're just about finished here. And again, with the root of the pinky, let's go ahead and grab the position list. The root of the pinky, we just need to lock the X. Okay. When we get to the next, we want full control over its rotation. Going to the next control, that's going to be scale. Skip over the Y, grab the X and Z, and all of the position controllers. All right, now that just brings us to one more. Okay, we're just about finished here. Go ahead and close this out. What we now need to worry about is setting up our double joints so that they'll function right. So we could use wire parameters for that. Let's start with the thumb. Again, all we need to be concerned about is the Z-axis here. So that's going to be taking the Z of this control, wiring that to the Z of the bone, following immediately after it. So that's 0, Euler XYZ, Z. That gets plugged into the bone, rotation, Z. Choose the bottom arrow, connect, and we'll now test this out, and there it is. Okay, great. So that finishes up the thumb. We'll go ahead and bring our attention to the index. And here, we could actually link, being that this is the root, we'll link all three axes to this bone that follows. So selecting the control, wire parameters, transform, rotation, X, gets plugged into the bones, rotation, Euler, X. Again, we'll use our bottom arrow, connect Y to Y, and Z to Z. Okay, so as that moves, there's our joint moving along with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and set the rest of these up. Again, here we just need to worry about the Y. So right click, wire parameters, rotation, 0 Euler, Y gets plugged into the following bone's Y. All right, and then for this last, it's the same thing. Wire parameters, Euler Y, and then choose that last arrow and connect. All right, I'll go ahead and close these out. And now we can finish up by working on the pinky, and then we can store these in the control objects group or layer to finish that up. And then bring our attention to the right side. So starting with the B control, and we take that, wire parameters, and that gets linked into all three axes for the following bone. So that's Y to Y, and Z to Z. Could almost make a song out of that, if you dare. Okay, so again, going to the next control, we just need to worry about the Y-axis here. Use the bottom arrow and connect. All right, we have one more to worry about, so let's go ahead and take care of that. Great. So as we rotate this, here's what we end up with. And you can see why we had to take these mid and end controls and link them to the bone above it so that this will work right. Okay, so let's say we go ahead and take these now and just go store them in the control objects layer. Alright, so with all of these selected, head over to the layer manager, find control objects, and choose add. So that's the step for rigging the fingers. That's going to bring us to our right side, setting that up, so we'll go ahead and start that in the next lesson.